With greetings from the city, I ask the mayor, the Honorable James Fiorentini, to come to the podium.
Thank you very much, Joe. What a couple of great speeches by a couple of great kids. Joe and Anastasia, give them a round of applause, would you? Graduates and parents, and I want to welcome all of you. Thank you for being here tonight to honor our students. This is a great class, the class of 2012, and students here are going on to some of the finest colleges in the land, including Worcester Polytech, Northwestern, Northeastern, Norwich, Bowdoin, Bates, Rensselaer Polytech, Boston College, Boston University, Regis, the University of Massachusetts, our own Northern Essex Community College, my alma mater, Tufts University, just to name a few. This is a great class. Now, students here have won an amazing $250,000 in scholarships. 150 of these students here tonight scored advanced in at least one MCAS category, and of those, 110 students tonight have earned the prestigious statewide John and Abigail Adams Scholarship. And one other thing, with the great leadership of the class officers, including Joe Sherlock, this class achieved something that few classes have ever achieved, and that is that they raised enough money privately so there were no class dues this year. So give them a round of applause. Now, today is a day to celebrate graduating high school and reflect on your experiences at Haverhill High. This is an accomplishment that you and your family should be very proud of. Graduations always remind me of my own graduation so many years ago. I remember how my family reacted. My father had been the first in an immigrant generation, the first son to go on to college and to graduate from high school. So it was a really big deal when I graduated. I remember how proud my family was. I know in the audience here tonight, there are people who have the same feelings of pride. You just heard from one of them, because the American dream lives on here at Haverhill High. I know that some of you will be the first in your family ever to graduate from a high school in America. Some of you will be the first in your family ever to go on to college. And I want to tell you, your parents and your grandparents, your aunts and uncles and your cousins are beaming here with pride tonight. And I only ask one thing of you. Do the very best you can to never let them down. Now, what I can't remember about my graduation so many years ago is who the mayor was. I can't remember a single word that he had to say. And I know that none of you are going to remember a single word I have to say either. And I promise I won't take it personally. And I probably should stop here, but it's my obligation to lend you a few words. Maybe your parents will pay attention. Maybe they might remember just a word or two. Tonight, you have the entire world in front of you. College, work, perhaps the military. And as you go down the path of life, you'll see what you've already seen, that education is transformative. Your high school education has already changed you. Education certainly changed my family. My father worked in a grocery store until he was able to go on to college, where he was able to save enough money to someday send his son to law school so that I could be the mayor of this great city. It's still true today, just as it was so many years ago, that the key to success is learning, is education. It's still true today that the longer you go to school and the more you learn, the more transformative education is. If I can give you just one piece of advice, and if you don't remember, maybe your parents will, keep on learning. Now, you don't necessarily have to go to school to keep on learning, but I hope you do. If you're not going immediately on to school, there's plenty of time in your life. But keep on learning, keep on educating. But just staying in school is only part of it. The evidence is clear that while you're in school, the harder you work, the harder you study, the better you'll do. Thomas Jefferson said it best. He was asked if he believed in luck. He said, I believe in luck, all right. And I find that the harder I work, the luckier I get. If you stay up at night studying, and I said staying up at night studying, not partying, if you come to work early, if you have a job and come in early and stay late, your chances of success in life improve. Now, you've already been through high school. You already know that hard work isn't a guarantee. There's no guarantees in life. You already know that sometimes you can work really hard, study really hard to get an A, and sometimes it doesn't happen. You know that you can be prepared for a race, for a track meet, and you can work really hard, and somebody else works even harder or just as hard, and maybe they beat you in the race, and that's okay. It's okay to lose a race once in a while. But what's important is that you don't lose your way, that you don't lose the values that your parents and grandparents who are here tonight have given you. That's a key to success, but there's other keys too. The key is to recognize that if you're truly going to succeed, then you have to live up to all of your obligations. Now, your first obligation is to yourself, to get an education, to get ahead. And all of you know that. But in the course of getting ahead, and I probably don't have to tell any of you this, take a little time off to relax, to enjoy yourself. Life isn't just about work. But your obligation to yourself is only the first of your obligations. You also have an obligation to the people who are here tonight cheering you on, the people who read to you when you were a child, who drove you to school every day and made sure that you got there, who nagged you to do your homework. You have an obligation to your family, to the family you have today, and to the family that you'll have in the future, to nurture them and guide them and give them the right values, just as your parents and grandparents have given you. Now, for most people, those two obligations to yourself and to your family seem to be where it stops, but I'm going to suggest to you tonight that you have another obligation, a third obligation, that's just as strong, and that's the obligation to society in general. The Army calls it duty, honor, country. It's an obligation to help change the world and to make it just a little bit better, an obligation to make a difference. There's so many ways that you graduates can make a difference. For me, it was becoming a VISTA volunteer, the domestic version of the Peace Corps. For you, it might be doing volunteer work in a hospice or a local hospital or a food bank, or perhaps engaging in a tutoring or mentoring program. For others, it might be making a difference every day in what I think is the best helping profession of them all, becoming a public school teacher. Now, you've had some great teachers here at Haverhill High. Let's give them a round of applause. And I hope that some of you will follow their footsteps and become teachers. Now, for others still, fulfilling your obligation to make a difference, can mean just being a public citizen. It can be paying attention, speaking out when you see some injustice, working hard to change the world, working hard to do what is right and make the world a little bit better. In the end, when one of you is up on stage trying to remember who it was that spoke way back all those years ago, trying to remember a word that was said, when it comes your time to pass the baton to your children and your grandchildren, I want it to be said of you, as was said of the late Senator Robert Kennedy, that you were a good and decent person who saw wrong and tried to right it, saw suffering and tried to heal it, saw war and tried to stop it. Thank you and good luck in your careers. Thank you so much.